Now we'll talk about using half-angle formulas to find exact values. So with half angles, so sine of alpha over 2 is plus or minus square root of 1 minus cosine of alpha over 2. Cosine of alpha over 2 is plus or minus square root of 1 plus cosine of alpha over 2. This looks like the power reduction formula. There's a relationship there. And tangent of alpha over 2 is plus or minus square root of 1 minus cosine of alpha over 1 plus cosine of alpha, or sine of alpha over 1 plus cosine of alpha, or 1 minus cosine of alpha over sine alpha. So I want to point out in all these cases, this alpha here in the equivalency, this is the full angle, and this is where we're talking about the half angle. So what's the other point? Oh, the plus or minus. So you need to look at which quadrant you're in for the half angle. What quadrant is this sine of alpha over 2 lying in to know if it's positive or negative? Same thing for cosine, same thing for tangent. So find sine of 15 degrees using half angle formulas. So 15 degrees is half of 30. So this would be sine of 30 degrees over 2. It's going to be, now we know this is in the first quadrant, so it's going to be positive. So I'll go to the positive. The square root of 1 minus cosine of 30 degrees over 2. And that's going to be the square root of 1 minus, now what's cosine of 30 degrees? As you've all memorized, it's square root of 3 over 2. We still have this 2 down here. Now let's see if we can simplify this a little bit. What if we multiply by 2 over 2 under the radical? We end up with the square root of 2 minus the square root of 3 over 4. Now 4 is a perfect square, so you could treat this as square root of 2 minus the square root of 3 over 2, because the square root of 4 is 2. And that's it. How to find the exact value of a trig function given the half angle. Draw a triangle to represent the given information. Determine the correct half angle formula. Substitute values into the formula based on the triangle, and then simplify. So, for example, 8 here, we will, given the tangent of alpha is 8 over 15, and alpha lies in the third quadrant, find the exact value of the following. So, first let's draw a triangle. We'll draw this triangle, not drawn to scale. Okay, so this is our alpha. Then we're looking at opposite is 8 and adjacent is 15. And these will both be negative because they are places where cosine and sine are negative. Or x and y are negative for that matter. So we want to find the hypotenuse c, so negative 8 squared plus negative 15 squared is going to be c squared. That's going to be 64 plus 225 is c squared. So that would be 289 is c squared. So c would be 17. So your hypotenuse is always positive. Now, sine of alpha over 2, that puts us in the, let's think about this for a second. Well, it's going to put us in somewhere, somewhere between the second and first quadrant. I'm thinking if we were to divide this one, 180 divided by 2 is 90, so it puts us in that quadrant. So this is going to put us in the second quadrant. So alpha over 2 is in quadrant 2. So sine of alpha over 2 will be the square root of 1 minus cosine of alpha over 2. And our cosine of alpha is what? It's going to be negative 15 over 17. So it's going to be the square root of 1 minus negative 15 over 17 all over 2, which will be the square root of, that's 17 over 17, plus 15 over 17 all over 2. So that's going to be the square root of 32 over 17 all over 2. So that's going to be the square root of 32 divided by 17 times 1/2. So divided by 2 is the same as multiplying by 1/2. So the square root is 16 over 17. Oh, we could do the 16, couldn't we? So that'd be 4 over the square root of 17, or if we rationalize the denominators, 4 root 17 over 17. Okay. Let's look at cosine. Now, cosine of alpha over 2 is, we're talking the second quadrant, so cosine will be negative. So we'll go with this being the negative of the square root of 1 plus cosine of alpha over 2. We already know what cosine of alpha is. So it's negative square root of 1 plus negative 15 over 17 over 2. So it's going to be the square root of 17 over 17 plus negative 15 over 17 over 2. So it's the square root of 17 and negative 15 is 2 over 17 over 2. Let me just clean that up a little bit. So it's going to be the square root of 2 over 17 times 1/2. Square root of, that reduces, we have 1 over 17. Oh, we said it was negative, I forgot the negative. And again, I made that too long. So if we rationalize the denominator, it's going to be negative the square root of 17 over 17. And let's go down to tangent. So tangent would be just sine over cosine. Now for second quadrant, it's going to be negative. Or we have a lot of options here, but we can use, so it'll be negative square root of 1 minus cosine of alpha over 1 plus cosine of alpha. So we have the square root of, got the negative out front, 1 minus negative 15 over 17 over 1 plus negative 15 over 17. So negative square root of, we found this earlier to be 32 over 17 over, we found that earlier to be 2 over 17 negative. So we have 32 over 17 times the reciprocal there, 17 over 2. The 17's divide out. 32 and 2 divide out to give us a 16 there. Excuse me. So we have negative square root of 16, which is negative 4. Okay. Last problem. A bicycle ramp is constructed for high-level competition with an angle of theta formed by the ramp and the ground. Another ramp is to be constructed half as steep for novice competition. If tangent of the theta for the higher level competition, if tangent of theta is 5/3 for higher level competition, what is the measurement for the novice one? So for the novice, so we have tangent of theta is 5/3. This lets us create a triangle. I guess this isn't to scale. 5, 3. And the hypotenuse, c squared, is 3 squared plus 5 squared. C squared is 9 plus 25, which is 34. So c would be the square root of 34. Okay, not to scale. Someone to realize that if they're watching the video. Okay. I know that 5 is more than 3. Okay, so what we're looking at is tangent of theta over 2 is going to be the square root of 1 minus cosine theta over 1 plus cosine theta. So that's going to be the square root of, cosine is going to be 3 over the square root of 34. 1 minus 3 over the square root of 34 over 1 plus 3 over the square root of 34. Okay, so what I can do is multiply on top and bottom by square root of 34 over square root of 34 in the fraction. So I'd get the square root of the square root of 34 minus 3 over the square root of 34 plus 3. And that would be, this at this point we use a calculator, approximately 0.57. So that means that tangent inverse of 0.57 gives us the angle, which would be 29.7 degrees. So that would be the angle of that ramp. Okay, there we go.